it's Serena Cashmere, and today we're going to be talking about where to live in LA, what the different areas are like. Some people think that LA, Los Angeles, is a city, but it's actually a county. So if you're coming here to be in the entertainment industry, there are a variety of choices. Even if you're just coming here for the nice weather and you just want to live where like the good vibes are and like maybe see a celebrity, maybe just chill out by the beach, I've got you covered. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, share, comment, so that I can keep making videos like this for you. So I have been born and raised in California. I've lived all over Southern California. I've lived in Los Angeles County, and I've lived in all of the surrounding counties around Los Angeles as well. You can be in the middle of Hollywood like I was for the past year. Now, some of the benefits of living in Hollywood is that you are so close to any of the studios if you're an actor. There's some that are north, like where Burbank is. There's some that are more south by the beach. There's some right in Hollywood. So really, as far as commute time goes, you're right in the heart of things. People are artistic and in the industry in Hollywood, so you are more likely to run into people just getting coffee or overhearing conversations, and you'll feel more like you're part of the culture. There's also tons of things to discover. So there's like Runyon Park and Griffith Park, and of course the Hollywood sign to check out, and there's all kinds of like clubs and cool little coffee shops. There's always new things to discover and explore if you live right in Hollywood. But some of the negatives are there's a lot of crime. There's a huge homeless population. There's a lot of gun violence that happens around there. The streets are really dirty. The sidewalks aren't very nice. All of the buildings and businesses are kind of dingy and small. It depends, of course, like where you go, because there's some nicer areas and some not, but it doesn't feel as safe to walk around, and it's really, really hard to find parking. So if you want to find parking, if you're in a residential area, it's going to be nearly impossible to find. So your guests are going to have to Uber over or get one of those scooters or bike or something. And if you're like going to an event in Hollywood, you're most likely going to have to valet or use some kind of lot that charges you. And those lots are really expensive. They're usually like $20, like flat fee. So just plan ahead. And if you want to live in Hollywood, just know that that's what you're in for. Okay, let's talk about West Hollywood. A little bit nicer than Hollywood. It's a little bit brighter, more spaced out, a little safer. It's known for the extensive LGBT community there. There's always parties going on. There's like this very famous section where like Pump is, and the Abbey, like all these really famous clubs. So there's tons of nightlife over there, and lots of celebrities live over there. A lot of actors and up-and-coming people live over there, but it's more pricey than Hollywood is. Same parking problems. You're still gonna have to pay for parking. It's still gonna be difficult, especially for your guests. If you do end up deciding to live in West Hollywood, make sure you get an apartment that has assigned parking so that at least your car will have a spot. Koreatown is a little more east of Hollywood, and it's known for being very cheap. So you can get some really nice places for cheaper, but it is even less safe and more sketchy than Hollywood is. So the outside of the building will look terrible, but because that area is like renovating and is a little more up and coming, you could have a building that looks terrible on the outside, but you go on the inside and it's all renovated with nice new appliances and fresh paint and a little more stylized. But again, parking is really difficult and it does not feel safe to walk around. Okay, so now we have like Studio City and Toluca Lake. So this is more around where Universal Studios is, which is a little bit north of Hollywood. This area is more safe than Hollywood, a little pricier, but there's lots of things to do, lots of restaurants and activities. It's right by the 101 freeway, so it's easy access to Hollywood. Now we go into North Hollywood and Van Nuys. I personally hate these areas. Some people don't mind them, so to each their own, but I cannot stand these areas. So North Hollywood is again going up the 101 from where we just were. You have Hollywood, and then you have Studio City, and then you have Van Nuys and North Hollywood. North Hollywood is known for being the mecca of up-and-coming artists, usually struggling artists that don't have a lot of money. So there's a lot of like really nice apartments, where actors and actresses just like all pack into one apartment. But I've had a lot of really bad situations happen in this area. Guys are not respectful. Everyone's a little desperate. It's really not safe to walk around, especially at night. Prices are great, and some people don't mind living there, but I personally can't take it. And then Van Nuys is kind of the same thing. Prices are great, and you can get really big, renovated places in Van Nuys, but it's just not safe. There's really bad traffic, and everything is run down. It doesn't look very nice. North Hollywood looks a little nicer than Van Nuys, but Van Nuys, it's like all industrial town. Everything's crammed together. It's hard to find parking, and I personally would not recommend that area. Okay, so continuing up north, you're gonna find places like Sylmar and Panorama City and Pacoima. These areas are not known for being super safe. Again, it's lower prices, but it's not that nice. There's not a whole lot of things to do. The commute isn't too bad. It's about 20 minutes to Hollywood. It's just really not super safe. So unless you have like a gated community and you know you're not gonna be walking around a whole lot, I just wouldn't recommend those areas. If you go a little more west, you'll find Granada Hills, and that tends to be a pretty nice area. It's got pretty good schools. It's a little more suburban. There's more homes instead of apartments, and you can walk around pretty easily and not have to worry too much about any crime going on. But that being said, in the last week, there was a shooting that happened at the grocery store in Granada Hills. So even though it's a place that most of us here in Los Angeles tend to think is a little safer, that stuff still goes on. Pretty good distance to Hollywood. It's about like 30 minutes. Keep going north and we're gonna head into Santa Clarita, Canyon Country, Newhall, Stevenson Ranch. Now this is where Six Flags is, so if you're aware of amusement parks, you can live right near Six Flags. And this area, if you have the app, it's called Citizen. Citizen app tells you about all of the crime going on around you. If you look on that app, all of LA is just full of crimes. I mean, there's everything from vehicle collision to, gun violence. Like, you can see everything on there. But the whole area that I just named, there's nothing, no crimes, not even like a car accident, just nothing. It is so spread out and spacious and nice, and depending on which city you choose, some are a little more expensive than others. Like Stevenson Ranch is on the pricier side, it's also the safest, and then Canyon Country, you can get much cheaper stuff, but it's still pretty safe and still pretty nice. And these areas, you can get to LA in about 40 minutes when there's no traffic, and I just think that that's the best way to go if you have a car and you don't mind a commute, but safety and quality of living are important to you. Not as many people live here. It's not as well known or considered, and geographically it looks kind of far away, so some people just think it's too far for them. But if you come here and you don't have a car, then of course I would say live closer, live in like Studio City or something. Especially since auditions are all online now. You don't have to commute for auditions, it's just for filming. I personally would recommend that area. The only thing to note is that Los Angeles is mainly blue, Democratic, all of that. So in Santa Clarita and Canyon Country, Newhall, all of those areas, there's a huge Republican community. It feels like a small town even though it's more spread out, but there's more political strife. So you're gonna find more Trump supporters over there. So if that's something you just don't want to deal with, then avoid that area. But if you welcome all walks of life, then you're good to go. Okay, so let's move into the Valley. The Valley has so many different cities and there's not that much uniqueness between them. So I'm just kind of gonna brush over it. There's like Encino, there's Chatsworth. They all blend together and they're all so close together. A lot of people live there, Northridge, because it's cheap, it's close, but so many people live there that the traffic is really intense. So even though geographically the Santa Clarita Valley is farther away than, say, like Northridge, it takes the same amount of time to get from the Santa Clarita Valley to Hollywood than it takes to get from Northridge or Encino to the Valley, because the 101 gets so packed with traffic. It is so obnoxious, ridiculous. So just know that you're in for that if you want to live in the Valley. If you want to keep moving west past the valley, you'll find cities like Woodland Hills, Agora Hills, Simi Valley, Thousand Oaks, Newbury Park. This is technically in Ventura County, and I used to live out there for a while. Much more spread out, much more suburban, much safer, but you're gonna have a longer drive. So it'll be like an hour, hour and a half. A lot of people don't mind that. I know friends that I grew up with that still live out there with their families, but then they commute when they need to. It's just as pricey as the areas in LA, so it's really not any cheaper. But if you want to get out of, you know, the chaos and the city life and the shootings and stuff, then head over there. But again, there were some shootings in the last couple of years that were in, I think, Westlake Village in a bar. So violence has traveled that far. Okay, so let's cover some of the beaches. So you've got Santa Monica Beach. This is one of the most famous beaches. It is really fun. There's lots of things to do. You've got the pier where there's like the Ferris wheel and the amusement park rides, and there's restaurants there, and there's a nice bike path. You've got to pay for parking. There's a lot of tourists. But it is a really beautiful place to live. There's a mall there. So if you want to go more beach life, I would say that's more of a high-end way to go. It's more expensive. It's really close to Hollywood. It's still going to be a commute, probably, again, 30 minutes without traffic. And without traffic, there's always traffic. I just mean not during peak times like lunch hour and dinner time and right in the morning when everyone's going to work. Then you've got the Pacific Palisades, which is on the way to Malibu. And then you've got Malibu. So of course, everyone's heard of Malibu, really prestigious. A lot of rich people live there, a lot of celebrities live there. But Malibu is like this really long stretch, and then there's all these mountains. So if you don't mind living up in the mountains somewhere where there's like cliffs off the side of the road, then sure, because I mean, my parents didn't mind at all, but from the bottom of the hill to the top, it took us about 20 minutes. So anytime we wanted to go to the gas station, get groceries, it was a 20-minute drive just to get to the bottom of the hill. And then when it's summer and all the tourists come in, well, then that whole Pacific Coast Highway gets really clogged up. There's like 2 lanes each way. So, I mean, traffic is again a problem. Parking is again a problem. Expect to pay for parking. But there's always these cool new hangouts, new restaurants. Who doesn't love the beach? If you don't mind a little bit colder weather, there's going to be that cold ocean breeze, so it's going to be a lot colder there than the valley, which is known for being really hot. Okay, if you go a little bit more south along the beach, you're going to find like Manhattan Beach and El Segundo and all these other beach towns. So everyone, again, has their own opinion about this. I think that these beaches are not as nice as the other beaches that I mentioned, but if you really want to live on the beach and it just fits your lifestyle, but you also have a budget, I would say that these are the places to look into. Okay, now we're gonna get into Culver City, and I'm just gonna like broad stroke this one. Any city that's below the 10 and not right along the coastline, beware. Now, I have friends that live in these areas and they grew up with it and it doesn't bother or affect them. But for me, and a lot of people that I know, it's very scary. So historically, these areas are known for being full of crime. They're also areas that are mainly lived in by minorities. So I just want to be extra sensitive about this subject. There's amazing people that live there. It is not about the people. It is about the level of crime. Prices are really good. You can get huge places for very cheap. And these areas are getting better, and they are in development, and they are up and coming. I'm just gonna touch on a little more East LA. So you're gonna have places like Eagle Rock and Whittier, which is a little farther out. You're gonna have like Monterey Park. All of these cities kind of blend together in my mind too, because it's pretty packed together, it's pretty industrial. There's lots of hills over there, but it's again more run down. It's pretty cheap, but these are like older homes, things that have been here for a while. It hasn't really been updated at all. And I don't know, I've done deliveries over there. I don't always feel that safe being over there, but I've met some really nice people. And if you're looking for a way to get some bigger properties for cheaper, then that could be a good way to go. That's also where Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas are from, and where Billie and her family still live. So if it's good enough for them, it could be good enough for you. And then we're gonna end it with Glendale and Pasadena. So Glendale is pretty nice. There's lots of things to do, pretty safe. There's a mall there, there's parking. Sometimes you can find it for free, sometimes you have to pay. Glendale, I would say, is pretty nice, as well as Burbank. Burbank and Glendale are pretty close together. They both have malls. It's more spread out. They're both known for having entertainment and industry people, so you can find your clan, your people in those areas and not be so worried about crime as if you were in Hollywood or one of the more up-and-coming areas. And Pasadena is known for being super nice. It's known for being old money. It's known for having really nice mansions that are older. There's lots of places to eat. There's some places where you can put on shows. There's a really tight-knit community of artists over there as well. I've always really enjoyed that area. However, I recently went looking for a new place for myself, and I spent the last month doing it. I went to so many showings. I went to over 50 showings in person. So that should just show you, not the people I contacted, not the people I called or emailed, but 50 showings in person. So I was all over. I was in Simi Valley, and I was in Pasadena, and I was in Santa Clarita, and I was, in Culver City. Like, I went all over, and I was really excited when I would go to the Pasadena places because I thought, I wouldn't mind living here, it's really nice. However, I did have some instances where guys would come up to me and hit on me in broad daylight. I had a guy who came into my car when I was just sitting waiting for a showing. So that goes to show that even in the nicest areas, you have to be extra, extra careful. You never know what's gonna go on, and keep your pepper spray on you and your wits about you. Okay, so that's all of LA summarized up for you. I hope that helps you in your journey to find your new place to live. Welcome to LA. We're all happy to have you. I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any more questions about the different areas or any specifics, go ahead and comment below. I'm always happy to answer. Until next time, bye.